Welcome to the Early Years Scotland podcast, where we chat with people from the world of early years about the many factors that influence children's development from birth to 5 years and how we play a part in giving children the best start in life. Our role as a leading early years organisation is to provide support through our 4 strands of work: working directly with young children and their families, membership and support, professional learning, and advice and advocacy. I'm Michele Doull, Head of Professional Learning and Quality Assurance. Today we'll be talking to Alison Precup, Learning and Development Advisor for SSSC, about their most valuable resources available to the sector, including open badges and leadership tools for early years professionals. Let's get started. Hi everyone, I'm Michele Doull here from Early Years Scotland. I am Head of Professional Learning and Quality Assurance. So excited to welcome Alison Precup, Learning and Development Advisor from Scottish Social Services Council, otherwise known as the SSSC. So welcome, Alison. If you're okay, could you just tell the listeners who are you and what is your role within SSSC?
Hello, Michele. Thanks very much for inviting me today. It's a great pleasure to share a little bit about what the SSSC does, but probably also to share a little bit about myself and my journey through the early years landscape. So I graduated, I think the word graduate's maybe a strong word. I qualified as a nursery nurse way back in 1981, the black and white days. And from then I worked in a variety of early years services. I worked in residential care. I worked in the private sector. I worked in the voluntary sector, worked in the local authority as nursery nurse, as they were called then. I worked abroad in India and in Romania, which is where I got my unusual surname because I met my husband in Romania, and he's Romanian. I worked as a lecturer at Fife College and a lecturer at Edinburgh University, and I was 16 years as a care inspector with the Care Inspectorate. And through that, I managed to become a mature student and went on and got my BA in Childhood Studies and my Master's in Childhood Studies. So I've done a wide selection of things to get to where I am today. And looking back on it, the time goes by very quickly, but when you look at what you've done, you are a bit amazed that you've squeezed so much time and squeezed so much into your time, I suppose. But now I'm working with the SSSC, and I have been with them for the last 6 years. And when I first came into the SSSC, I worked in the Qualifications and Standards team, which is a team that looks at people's qualifications, assesses them, checks them against our benchmark qualifications. And now I work in the Leadership and Improvement team. And that looks, as the title says, Leadership and Improvement. And I also work in the Professional Development Standards team, which looks at the quality assurance of programmes that deliver the BA or the PDA in childhood practice. So I've got my finger in a number of pies there. A little bit about who the SSSC is. Well, we're the regulator of the social work, social care and early years sector, a workforce in Scotland. We were set up as a sister organisation to the Care Inspectorate way back in 2001. But where the Care Inspectorate register and regulate services, we register and regulate people who work in those services. And we have a register which is a qualifications-based register. So people need to have the right qualification to work in the right job. And we give people time to get that qualification if they haven't got it. I think at the moment it's about 5 years, but I think they are looking at how we might change that in the future. So we do that because everybody wants to have a trusted and professional workforce looking after our most vulnerable groups of people, including our very, very small children. And to do that, we've also published the codes of practice, where we can use to carry out checks on the fitness of practice. If people fall below those particular standards, they will come to us through fitness to practice. And we also develop resources because we support the workforce in their development and in their learning. So that's a very small snapshot, if you like, of what the SSSC does.
Fantastic. Thank you, Alison. And I think the sort of question is who and what is SSSC? And I think what you showed shown there, it is, it's people within that one sort of big body, but your response, that's great. It gives us, because there are real people behind, the phone, the website, and it's great to hear your journey. I think for the sector to understand who are these people that answer the questions, etc., and obviously your breadth of knowledge, and it's great, just that interesting journey that you've taken. Thank you for sharing that with us. And question we'd like to ask is, what misconceptions do you feel there are within the sector, around SSSC? Big question, we might say none, but actually through our discussions, it's been great to hear what your views are. So yeah, please tell our listeners, what are the misconceptions?
Well, that's a really interesting question, because of course there are misconceptions, and you touched on one there when you said there are real people on the end of a phone or at the end of a website. And I think one of the big misconceptions is that people who work in the SSSC don't understand the sector, or, they're admin people, they're not used to working in the sector. Actually, I would say probably about 80% of the staff that work in the SSSC have sector experience. And people that work in the other teams, the qualifications and standard, quality assurance, and my own team, learning and leadership and improvement, also all come from a background with where they've worked in the sector. Now, that might be like myself, who's worked as an early years worker. They may well have worked in community. They may well have worked residential. So that is an interesting element that people think, they don't understand what we're doing. They've never had to work in a playroom with 30 children running about you, and you've got time to think about the SSSC. Never mind, make sure I'm registered. No, we do understand that. And we have such a great wealth of experience from different people that bring to the SSSC that real authenticness of understanding what it's like to be somebody that's working in that situation. So that would be one of my first things, really. I suppose the other misconception is that people think it's only about getting registered. They're only interested in us getting registered and taking our money. And the other aspect was, they're only interested if we do something wrong, and then we get hauled in front of them through fitness to practice. So I think that, those things happen. Of course, we have a registration system that people are expected to register and to pay a fee for that. Of course, if people fall below the standards that we've set, and put our young people or children or vulnerable people in danger, then we have a duty of care. And the Scottish people would expect us then to investigate that. So those two things, are key. But there's a third thing that people often forget, and that's about workforce development. And that's about the learning opportunities that we provide for the workforce. And that's through our resources, of which we'll talk about later. But it's also through opportunities you can get in touch with us. We're happy to support particular aspects of learning if we can provide anything in terms of resources. And by resources, I don't just mean, things online, but we might want to come along to a team meeting, for example, to talk about the SSSC. Or we may say, we have had work in the past where people have said, I can't get our supervision, established. I don't know where I should start. We've been able to help with that. We've been able to talk with groups of staff about the importance of supervision. We've used our supervision resources. So that's a whole area that I don't think is really understood by the sector, or they don't recognise it. And the amount of people that have said, I didn't know that you had all those resources, free resources. You don't even have to be registered with the SSSC. You just can go right in and use our resources. So those are the three misconceptions, I think, really, that people have. And I hope through this might have kind of bashed those myths a little bit.
Excellent. Absolutely. And the great variety there in your responses is exactly what the sector, needs to hear. And I think, just as you said, you're more than just having to register. And I think it's that continuous journey for the sector, isn't it? Yes, of course, for young children, adults, etc., we have to have that regulatory body, and that's what you are. But I think it's exciting to see, or hear from you directly that that's so much more than that. And I think with the best will in the world, the sector do want to look out and they do want to seek extra support. Sometimes time just doesn't allow it, or sometimes the information's just not that readily available. And when you were saying there about the possibility to come and speak to people about what SSSC do, aside from, as you said, take their money and, take them in when there's something going wrong. It's really exciting to know, that this potential here for the sector to know, gosh, really? Or that's right. They do that, but I'd completely forgotten. I'll go back and look at that, and the word you used about free resources. We're a sector who do like things free, and we've changed our way, haven't we? We want things accessible on our phone. We want things on our iPad, and the SSSC website is great for that. It's so responsive, but perhaps people just don't realise that that's there. So today is a new day to allow us, hopefully, to let the sector appreciate what's there, and real people like you, Alison. So another real person that we have is Shannon from our team, and we thought, let's capture, a practitioner view around this. So we asked, what's your understanding of the role of SSSC? And Shannon was able to share this response with us.
The role of the SSSC, in my eyes, are that they are a regulatory body in which ensures that the standard of childhood practice is kept at a very high level. They ensure that the staff working in the care service have a high knowledge of what is expected of them, and they promote further CPD training and monitoring.
So that's quite a detailed response from Shannon. I think she has captured, a lot of what you've been saying. But I think the position we come from is that might not be the same response across the sector. So any thoughts on that response?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I think Shannon's hit the nail on the head there. Really, that's it. That's exactly what we're about. And I think what you said earlier about the importance of that continual learning, my favourite expression is you don't stop learning until your elbows hit wood. And I think that's so true every single day, as this should be and is often a school day for us. And the importance that the SSSC put on that continual learning is vital. But Shannon has definitely, picked exactly what we're about. And you're right, there will be people out there, especially maybe new people to the profession, younger members of the workforce. We know that some people start a job and, have never heard of the SSSC. They might not always be in the fortunate position where their service or their manager can explain that to them. So it is really important that people have things like this podcast, which can just talk about that, and raise that question. And even if one person says, "Oh, I heard this podcast and there was a woman from the SSSC. What's that about?" And raises that in a supervision or a one-to-one or a team meeting, and that's great. It's opened up another door for somebody to see what we're about, really.
No, perfect. And I think if we gave the sector, we said SSSC, tell us words that you associate with SSSC. I don't know that learning would be a word that the sector would use. So I think that this is the opportunity to do that, isn't it?
Exactly.
Great. So we also asked Shannon to tell us about the resources on SSSC website. So Shannon has shared her thoughts of that. So over to Shannon to hear what she said.
I use the My Learning app very frequently to keep my CPD up to date, and I really enjoy this feature. It's a game changer for the sector. I've used the standard for childhood practice like a Bible since being at university, and then to keep up to date with my account and membership, paying fees and stuff, it's all very straightforward.
So thank you, Shannon, for sharing those thoughts. We'll go to Alison to capture your thoughts on that comment.
Well, it's really lovely to hear that Shannon's really enjoying that new CPL app that we developed. We were very aware that we are moving into an environment, particularly since COVID happened, where people want to have access to learning quickly. They don't want to have to trail through things, and to be able to immediately go onto your phone and pick up some, learning from that, or your iPad or whatever tablet you might use. That's really the road that we're trying to go down. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say all our resources are, phone ready or iPad ready. They're really not. But we do have a fantastic digital team within our, department. and their job has been to keep updating things, changing things, making them more accessible. And I think that's the kind of thinking for the next few years, is that we really try to upgrade our resources so that people can access them. The CPL app was a great idea, because I don't know about you, Michele, but whenever I do any training, I'll say, oh yeah, I'll just take a note that what that training was, and then I'll put it in my diary. Do you do that? No, because you get home, you make the tea, you've got the kids, whatever, you forget. And then you're asked for that training, either by, occasionally we might, sample the workforce's training, what they've done in the last 5 years. Are you then having to think back 5 years ago when I did a course on child protection in, May 2017 or whatever? No, you're not going to remember any of that. So having that app is so quick. You just say, did it, this is what I did, this was the date, this is what I learned. Now, the key thing about that is, and it's a bit what I always call the so what question. So what you did child protection? So what you went and did, equality training? What difference did it make? Did it make a difference? Did it make a difference to you as a worker and a practitioner? But more importantly, did it make a difference to the people that you work with and for, children, families, young people? So we want to know, when people are thinking about their training, how do you reflect on it? How do you become a reflective practitioner? And that is about sitting and going, well, what did it mean? Sometimes training might have not been good. You might have went, well, that was a waste of an hour. Actually, I could have been doing something else. Don't write that, because that's important. From your point of view as a reflective practitioner, that'll help you in the future to go, well, actually, I didn't get much from that, but I might get something more from this. So it's really important that people understand, when they're writing up any of their learning for themselves, to go, what did I learn from that? What difference did it make? What difference is it making to the people that I care for and support and work with and for? So I think that's a really key thing there. Shannon also talked about the open badges. Well, we have a whole resource on open badges, and many open badges that people can access. And if people don't understand what an open badge is, it's a bit like a digital certificate. So you do a piece of work, we have many on our resources. The ones that I think are most interesting at the moment for early years would be the 23 Things Leadership open badges. And that is a resource that looks at 23 things leadership. Now, the big key thing here is, I can hear people going, I'm not a leader. I just do this. I don't like hearing anybody saying, I just do, because there's no such thing as just do. We all play a vital part. And one of the key things about our resources is that everybody has leadership capabilities, regardless of whether you're the person that opens the door to the nursery in the morning, whether you're the cook in the kitchen, whether you're the CEO of the organisation, or whether you're a practitioner or managers. Everybody has leadership capabilities. So these 23 Things Leadership are really, really good for everybody. And they consist of, you go into our resource through your open badges, and you pick one of these 23 things. It could be thing 1, thing 2. Everything has a different title. And it asks you to either read something that's on our resources, watch a video about our resources, then write 200 words on what you think your understanding is what you've just read and how you would then apply it to your work. You send that in to us. We, in our team, get these in every week, and we look, I'm not going to say we assess them, because that's not the right word, but we look at them and we decide, yes, that will approve that badge. Or we might say, well, actually, you've not done any reflection. That's what I was saying before. You've been very, went to this, did that. But that's not telling me what you've learned. So we might say, no, we're going to decline that. And we'll give you advice about what you should do in order to resubmit it and what we're looking for. So they're great. Digital badges are a great way of just continuing your continual learning. It's great to be able to take with you if you move jobs as well, because you'll have them. So you can be saying, well, look, I've done 23 things leadership. I've done 6 of those. So, this is proof that I'm really finding my own development really important, and I'm working at that. So 23 things is definitely a great way to get your badges there. And it's also a great way to actually dip into all our resources, because while we have the Step into Leadership resource, which is a big one, and our learning zone, which covers a huge amount of learning for all aspects of the sector. 23 Things is a pathway, if you like, through our resources, and you touch on all of our resources all the way through that, and it's done much more cohesive way. Because I think one of the criticisms that we've had has been, oh my goodness, there's so much, there's too much. And then I go in and then I go off down a rabbit hole and I can't figure out, I've forgotten what it was I was looking for in the first place. And now I'm here and I'm thinking, oh, I don't want to be here. How do I get back? We're really aware of that. And that's why we're trying to streamline. And I suppose really the other thing is for people to be, keep their ears open, because the 23 Things leadership as it stands will be looking a little bit different for early learning and childcare, because we're doing the same, if you like, but we're having a slant of early learning and childcare resources, because many of the resources on it just now are adult care. That doesn't mean to say they're not relevant, because leadership is leadership, regardless of whether you work in a nursery or whether you work in an adult care. You still need those same fundamental aspects of leadership. But the 23 Things, and we haven't really got the title yet, Michele, but it'll be 23 Things ELC, I think, will have a much bigger slant on early learning and childcare. And we hope to have that out later this year. So keep your eyes open for that.
Brilliant. So much there, Alison, to take on board. I think the one that I'm kind of going to is the hope that hearing you're a real person, so that engagement with open badges, knowing that, it's that non-threatening. As you say, people do the open badge, they do the so what, they feel they've responded to the so what, but perhaps they haven't. And knowing that it's a real person on the other side saying, great what you've written, thanks for sharing that, but perhaps consider this. And it's that going on a journey with someone. And I think that hopefully will dispel sort of myths or lack of confidence for individuals, and open badge, I'm a bit worried about that because I don't really want to submit, and if I get it wrong, that it'll go against me. Hearing you speak, that's absolutely not. It's about, SSSC want to support reflection. They want to support reflective practitioners, because everyone wins then, don't they? If the support's given for that. So that's, really great. And I just say, sometimes you go into it and you do go down a rabbit warren. Sometimes the journey's exciting going down the rabbit warren, but sometimes you think, oh gosh, where did I actually start? But I think it's almost saying, that's okay. If I do go down, I'll find interesting things, but I'll go back to where I started. Which thing am I on? And I love actually the thing, because it's very real, isn't it? 23 Things leadership, because that's what we do in practice. And I love the fact that acknowledgement that we are all leaders, regardless if it's the cook, the person opening the door. And I think that shift is coming in the sector, that everyone does see. We expect children to be leaders, don't we, in their own right? Therefore, we should really see that adults see themselves as leaders. So gosh, it feels like we've just scratched the surface of all of this, Alison. So I think from us Early Years Scotland, just to say thank you. We hope the listeners now think differently. When they hear SSSC, the aim for us is that people go, oh yeah, they're the ones who, and it's a list of different things. So for us now, the so what is go and look and see what's there to support your practice and, fundamentally for our listeners, the children that you work with and their families. So we hope everyone has enjoyed this discussion with Alison. It's been a real pleasure. We could talk and talk, but what we'll do, we'll stop now, and we really hope to welcome you back in the future, Alison, to give us more insight into the world of SSSC and how it's there as a support for the sector. So thank you. Any final words from you, Alison, before we sign off?
Just to say thank you very much for having me, and please, people, feel free to contact the SSSC, and don't be afraid to do that. We're here, and we'd be delighted to help you in any way we can. So thanks very much for listening.
Thank you. Take care, everyone, and we hope you tune in again in the future. Take care. Thanks again for listening. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. If you want to get in touch, please email us at info@earlyyearsscotland.org. Take care and bye for now.